every state in America. That is the reason why he became the guest of the CIA, the FBI, the DEA. What else again? Right? So that's how he became their guest. Okay. And then there is a part of Tinubu as well from when he entered America. You know, the same way Tinubu said FBI, DEA, CIA, and all these agencies in America did not release his record. His record is talking about his life record in America, including when he suddenly appeared at the O'Hare Airport in Chicago in 1979 or so with a Nigerian passport and one-way ticket. And then how he became a Chicago State University, student and all that stuff. There is more. There is the part of drug trafficking. There is the part of the money laundering. There is the part of human trafficking. You see all of this, when they make them public, what does that mean? What would that mean for Nigeria? Again, like I said, Nigeria is in the worst place right now. The fact that the Nigeria institutions were unable to stop this criminal, this drug dealer, this drug addict, and the kleptomaniac treasury looter, Kolu. Now Tinubu controls these institutions. So the compromised institutions in Nigeria are now in his pockets by the virtue of him being the presidiate of that contraption. Okay, so that then makes it more like, what's anyone going to do? I have something to remind you of again, right? But before that, the first reaction of Tinubu's MAGA dog, you know who is the MAGA dog now? That is Daniel. His own reaction is this: mischievous and politically mechanized nonsense under the guise of US court orders, FBI and DEA to act. They claimed the order was given on Tuesday, but it never saw the light of the media until Sunday. There is nothing this opposition under the auspices of Coalition for a Wild Good Chase cannot try to do to keep relevance. They went to meet Bukwari, and it was reported that he insisted the meeting be held in or on camera so that El Rufaya would not go and say Buhari is joining SDP and PDP. Hard as they try, they are still struggling to convince Nigerians that they have any plan at all, needless alternative plan. That was what Dani Bulaba had to say. Indirectly or directly saying this news is probably distraction. Because he didn't really say fake news. He said the judgment was said to have, the order was said to have been given on Tuesday. That was like 4 days or 5 days ago. Why is it just making it to the news today? Very good observation, though, right? Again, that is nobody's fault. If the Nigerian media didn't pick it up until today, fine. But as for David Undenyi, as well as Alan Greenspan, who were behind the case, the FOI case. A little bit on that again. You see, like I said, Tinubu spent so much money to ensure that, his record in America is never revealed. And there is more that he is hiding. At the last count, imagine spending over $17 million just getting lawyers to stop whoever is making any attempt in any court in America trying to dig into his criminal record, even his good record or whatever it is, right? Just give something that, we can possibly continue to have an idea who is this Guinea called Tinubu. So they finally, like, it's America, you can always like upturn any judgments that you know, in some states like that, right? You can easily just upturn it and still get what you want. But unfortunately, Tinubu managed still, right, to stop them from, when he couldn't stop them from releasing some of these documents, right? He then got a kind of like an order that says, okay, release them, but I want them to, us to be, what do you call that thing again? To be sort of like covered, other way. Anyway, now we have a judge. Okay, hang on. Before that, to Onofunuga, for example, who is like the senior advisor to Tinubu when it comes to communication, he's like a senior to Bulaba, right? His own response is, journalists have sought the presidency's reaction to the ruling last Tuesday by a Washington, D.C. judge ordering the US FBI and DEA to release reports connected with Bola Tinubu, right? So he said, our response is as follows. There is nothing new to be revealed. The report by the agents, most of the FBI and the DEA report have been in the public space for more than 30 years. The reports did not indict the Nigerian leader. The lawyers are examining the ruling. That's, that's Onofunuga, who is more or less like trying to be less mischievous than. So what they are telling people is that there's nothing new. Like I said, right? There's nothing new. Everybody knew that Tinubu was a drug dealer in Chicago, all right? But he didn't go to jail. So how can somebody be a drug dealer, right? And then wanted by the FBI, the DEA, name it, right? So the CIA. This is the defense of the Ronukuso. This is how they defend it. So they're like, it's America. If indeed, he is guilty, how come he didn't go to jail? It wasn't just Tinubu. And I think it's very good to clear this part, okay? And I don't think it's really going to matter. Because like I said, right? Nigeria is in very much like the worst place right now. And that's why you have a Tinubu as their president, okay? So there is no shame that can shame some of them. You understand? Like there's no level of disgrace that means anything to them. To them, these are just the enemies of their own oppressor. And they love their oppressors. Like I told you, they love their criminals differently. So Nigeria is in a worse place. But for the politicians themselves, right? Nigeria is in the best place right now because they are the luckiest human beings in public office in any part of the world. Nigerian, politicians. So to them, Tinubu should have been jailed, forgetting the fact that when they started the investigation of Tinubu, it started in the early 80s. And it was not even him. They were actually like investigating at first. It was his other partner who happened to be, a Mexican American or so, who is now dead. Just before Tinubu became your president. So from there, they also discovered other mules, those who are carrying drugs, either from Nigeria, from other West Africa countries like Guinea and all those places where Tinubu had citizenship, right? So into America, then into Chicago, and then other places. So they were actually like picking them and arresting them, and it got to a stage where Tinubu himself had to flee America. But like other typical criminals in charge of Nigeria today, right? When you look at the current Nigerian Senate, for example, right? The guy who is the chairman of the Senate Committee on Ethics and Public Petition, the ones looking into Natasha's petition, they were supposed to be looking into Natasha's petition, right? He's a criminal who stole from his own client as a lawyer. He was disbarred in New York, in America. He returned back to Nigeria, became a politician, a senator, making laws for Nigerians. The former speaker of Nigeria, Betokun, sorry, what's that? Bajabiamole, rather, Bajabiamole. Bajabiamole was a lawyer in Georgia. He stole $28,000 of a client and he got sued for it. He ran to Nigeria to go and join politics. He became the lawmaker representing Surulere. That's how he became a House of Representative member. And it was in Abuja when the judgment came back then, or like about a few years back, that he's been disbarred. He can't practice law, not anywhere in America. He's the chief of staff to Tinubu right now. The current governor of Ogun State, Dubious Dapo, Abiodun of Ogun State, is a credit card fraudster in Florida in the 80s. He was also there, jailed or captured. I don't know if he went to jail eventually, because it was, his mugshot is on social media, for example. Today is the governor in Nigeria. When Tinubu ran back to Nigeria, it was a moment, right, to quickly join politics, and he did. And he became a senator. He actually became a senator when the, what do you call it? When the agent Moss that they are talking about was questioning the money in Tinubu's bank account, in which he negotiated. That was the moment people believed that he became their mole. Story is long gone. So we really want to. So when they asked the CIA if Tinubu is their agent, because there's a record of him of being an agent of the CIA recruited just to avoid jail. CIA said that they can neither deny nor confirm, in which means that they can't say no, because they said they can't put, answering yes or no can put the life of their assets in danger. How many of you remember that? That too is also in court. So what that simply means is that with this new ruling, right? Give me a second. Let me see if I can quote. The judge, right? So the judge is Beryl Howell. Okay. So who made the order that he said, so that saying that the protecting the information from public disclosure is neither logical nor plausible. All right. And this is a U.S. judge in the District of Columbia, right? And also, I'm gonna. So that simply means that the FBI, the IRS, the DEA, the CIA, as well as the U.S. Attorney's offices of the Northern District of Indiana, another district of Illinois, right? So that gave protective, or what do you call it, protective coverage to Tinubu, who said if they release his record, like if they release all his record to the public, it will cost him irreparable damages, right? So what this simply means now, except if, I don't know, because they've been at it for a while now, right? What it simply means now is that we may now have the opportunity, do you understand now, to know who is this Bola Ahmed Tinubu Bat, Remi Ahmed Tinubu Rat, Segun Agbele, and others. So we know who they are, right? But we can then understand, we can put it in the, probably like put it in the history book for the sake of our children. So that when we tell them that there are no heroes past in that contraption, but criminals will never did time. Because some of these guys, if Nigeria was supposed to be a working place, some of these guys, they're actually supposed to, you should never hear about them, right? And because they would either be in jail or they will be dead by now because of the kind of crimes that they have been involved in. You know what I mean? So, to the Ronukus, especially Ronukus that are watching me right now, you should be happy. Maybe not happy, right? But you should be happy that this is your Nigeria. But the consequences of that is going to be for every one of us, though, right? Every one of us that goes out there who would have to explain. Like I said, the Ronukus won't care as long as Tinubu is their president. And they've said that he's going to do 8 years and nobody's going to change that and all that stuff, right? But when you have a president that is compromised, the one they have compromise on, right? It's make your country vulnerable. You are in the worst economic place right now, being led by a group of career criminals as we speak. You understand? So they are never going to, I mean, they don't have anything to lose than their freedom, which in itself is just in their own hands, right? To decide if they will lose it or not, okay? But the thing is this, the outlook for Nigeria, all right, out there, as well as the, you taking advantage of the compromise on this druggie, we spent a long time doom for the contraption, and you possibly would need to stop, disturbing God, especially those of you, the Ronu Nazis, the Ronu bandits, have been at the Ronu coups watching me right now, including those of you who are the Abrodian Ronu coups. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you possibly need to also know this as well. Again, by the way, like you don't celebrate for too long. What you have is a failed country led by career criminals. And when you have compromised leaders or leadership, the life of the citizens becomes almost next to nothing, in which what Nigerians are currently experiencing. And like I said, you can't use propaganda to run a country where your other actions or inactions and inactions are not only fueling different group of terrorists to feel like, well, they can possibly get away with anything, right? So propaganda can't chase that away. Everybody around this Kolu, the culture, jesters around this Kolu, who have been like licking his ass, licking his ass and making themselves or trying to make him feel good. All this, why that if you say something, even if you are their friend, and you say something and say, this is wrong, or maybe this is not so well, right? So they always take it so personal, right? So recently, when we leave this FBI stuff, FBI DEA and what have you now. So I am going to also be digging into whatever it is that they eventually probably allowed to share with us. So with this court judgment, right, or court order, I don't know if Tinubu would be able to prevent these irreparable damages in which this expose will cause. There's a particular part that actually interests me before I go to another thing now, right? Is that part where the supposed Tinubu or so that convocated for the Chicago State University was a girl. Her date of birth was 1954. Tinubu said he was born in 1952. That he went to University of Chicago. That was the university Tinubu went to when he was in court with Gani Fawayimi in the early 2000s, right? So Tinubu changed that to Chicago State University in 2025. That's like 20 years. I'm sorry, in 2023. That's like 20 years after he said he went to University of Chicago, right? So now that he said he went to Chicago State Uni, Angono. So now that he claims that he went to Chicago State University, right? And also, by the way, it is also the same Tinubu who also told us that, oh, hang on, yeah, I went to Chicago State University. I want to finish that, right? I went to Chicago State University, but he's a male, he is not female. So also, it is the same Tinubu who said